San Diego, in stunning testimony that may upend the war crimes trial of Navy SEAL Chief Edward Gallagher, a SEAL medic told the court on Thursday that he and not the chief had killed a wounded captive in Iraq. The medic, Special Operator First Class Corey Scott, testified that he watched Chief Gallagher stab the prisoner, a teenage ISIS fighter, in the neck, but that the stab wound did not appear to be life-threatening. After the chief walked away, Special Operator Scott told the court, he pressed his thumb over the captive's breathing tube until he died. I knew he was going to die anyway, and wanted to save him from waking up to whatever would have happened to him, Special Operator Scott said, adding that he had seen other captives tortured and killed by Iraqi forces. Chief Gallagher, 40, is charged with premeditated murder in the death of the ISIS captive, as well as the attempted murder of Iraqi civilians and other crimes. He has pleaded not guilty and denied all the charges. The case stems from a deployment in 2017 when a SEAL platoon led by Chief Gallagher was supporting Iraqi troops as they sought to drive Islamic State fighters out of the city of Mosul. The case has attracted the attention of several members of Congress and President Trump, who has indicated that he is considering a pardon for the chief. The medic's testimony on Thursday drew an angry response from prosecutors, who said that in 6 different interviews with Navy investigators, he had never hinted that he had suffocated the captive. They said he changed his story after being granted immunity to testify. You can stand up there, and you can lie about how you killed the ISIS prisoner so Chief Gallagher does not have to go to jail, a Navy prosecutor, Lieutenant Brian John, told him. Special Operator Scott then looked over from the witness stand toward Chief Gallagher, whose wife and 2 of his children were in the courtroom. He's got a wife and family, Special Operator Scott said. I don't think he should spend the rest of his life in prison. Throughout the investigation, fellow SEALs have often struggled with whether, and how much, to cooperate with the Navy authorities in prosecuting one of their own. Even within Chief Gallagher's platoon, SEALs have been at odds over whether to support the chief or to cooperate with investigators, according to one SEAL who spoke on condition of anonymity because he feared retaliation. In text messages found on Chief Gallagher's phone, which was seized by investigators, the chief wrote to fellow SEALs about his accusers betraying the Brotherhood, and asked them to ostracize his accusers. In the military court in San Diego this week, several SEALs said that, since reporting their chief's actions, they had received online death threats, and at least one had begun carrying a concealed weapon. Special Operator Scott's testimony leading up to the surprise statement that he had killed the ISIS fighter had been consistent with accounts given by other SEALs in the trial, which began Monday. Lieutenant Tom McNeil told the court on Tuesday that he was on the front lines of a combat operation clearing villages on the outskirts of Mosul with Chief Gallagher on May 3, 2017, when word came over the radio that SEALs at the rear had just received a wounded Iraqi soldier from the forces who were partnering with the SEALs. Chief Gallagher, who is a trained medic, dismissed a request for medical care, saying the Iraqi forces should care for their own. When it was clarified that the wounded Iraqi was an Islamic State fighter and not a government soldier, Lieutenant McNeil said, Chief Gallagher responded by saying, "Lay off him, he's mine." Chief Gallagher then left the battle area to go to a command post about 2 miles away. There, Lieutenant McNeil said, the chief began performing aid on the captive, while Special Operator Scott helped. Another SEAL, Special Operations Chief Craig Miller, testified on Wednesday that he was about 12 feet away from the captive at the command post when he saw Chief Gallagher stab the captive in the jugular at least twice. He described blood spurting from the teenager's neck, saying, "It looked similar to a baby throwing up." Special Operator Scott had previously told investigators that he saw Chief Gallagher stab the captive 2 to 3 times in the neck. But on Thursday, he said he only remembered seeing the chief stab the captive once, pushing the blade down into his chest between his neck and collarbone. "I was startled, and I froze up a bit," Special Operator Scott said. Asked by prosecutors if he could think of any reason Chief Gallagher would stab the captive, Special Operator Scott replied, "I cannot." A Navy report on the case related that in an April 2018 interview, Scott said he was shocked because the ISIS fighter did nothing to cause Gallagher to stab him. SEALs said in testimony that they confronted Chief Gallagher that night about the killing. Dylan Dill, a former SEAL sniper, testified that Chief Gallagher responded, "This is just an ISIS dirt bag. Next time I'll do it where it will be out of sight, out of mind."